Hi, I'm Ryan, and I created Nyched. Nyched is the world's first human interaction platform, but more about that later. Right now, I'm going to react to a couple of videos that I've found over the last week and give what Nyched's perspective is to that situation, in my opinion, on what these people are saying and doing and what they are talking about. So let's jump in.
There's a man in New Orleans. His name is Uncle Bob. He came into an apartment one day. He busted in the door, guns drawn. He saw nobody. He saw legs on the floor. It was my legs. He saw blood everywhere. A bunch of police hopped over me. He refused to do so. He said EMS tried twice and they told him, there's nothing. He refused to let that die. He brought me to the hospital himself. He refused to wait. He kicked in the doors. He said, you get whatever you gotta do and you make sure this child make it. That day, Uncle Bob was a homicide detective. He was off on detail. He just heard the call and came. I saw him the other day. I said, Uncle Bob, let me help you in any kind of way. This man has 2 amputated legs. He refused to stop. He's not in a wheelchair. He's walking. You know what he asked for? A job.
Wow, what an inspiring story. You know, I've heard Lil Wayne talk about this before, but that's amazing. You know, with all the stuff that's out there, I'm not a believer in getting rid of police or anything like this, but that's the right thing to do. Too often you hear stories about police officers that were just following their training and missing the point about what it is to be human and what it is to react to a situation with compassion. And, you know, training's not always 100% right. They call them SOPs, standard operating procedures, because that's what you're supposed to do in the standard situation. But when it's not standard, we should be allowed and able to use our judgment so that we can create a better situation. What an amazing story and experience. You know, sounds like Lil Wayne wouldn't be here without Uncle Bob. So that's awesome. You know, very cool. Very cool.
Yeah, all right, you want to look at the pictures of your little brother or sister? Are you ready? Yeah. All right, here we go. Ready? Baby A.
Uh-oh.
Are you me? Are you kidding me?
Just wait.
No.
Uh-oh.
Baby B? No. 4?
Uh-oh.
3.
Holy Oh my god! Oh no! Oh no! Oh!
Uh-oh.
Oh!
I'll change your life.
Oh!
Here's all 3 of them.
No! 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 What the? Oh my god! Oh Ryan, you have 3! 3 babies! What? 3 babies! You're gonna be the oldest of 4! What the?
That's awesome. Well, not what he was expecting, obviously, but that's a good response, right? He's excited about it. It doesn't change things for him. He's getting his little kid excited about it. How cool. Hopefully that isn't too stressful on the situation. But, you know, the thing is, most of the time, if you're in a situation like that, you've got 2 options. You can not do anything about it and fail, or you can rise to the occasion and figure it out. And I think all of us can think of times where we've had to rise to the occasion and maybe we made the wrong decision the first step down the path, but you're able to backtrack and you're able to, you know, redecide what is the best thing for you and for your family and for those around you. But awesome. Good luck to this dad. You know, this dad again of now 4. Wow. I couldn't imagine. That's crazy.
Imagine this kind of behavior coming from the U.S. Postmaster General.
You, sir, do not get an A grade. You cannot give yourself that grade.
Just did.
You were graded by the United States people, and they don't use your service anymore.
That is not true.
You bankrupt this through your reputation only.
Growing.
You are responsible for the fall of the Postal Service and the lack of accountability.
Congress is responsible for the fall of the Postal Service.
So it's Congress.
I am trying to fix
on your
the Postal
watch
Service.
with all the AI.
Before my watch, the same stuff happened.
With all the AI, with all the computer systems, you're worse than if I took a horse and picked up the mail and delivered it 2 miles down the road. I hope you got that on camera. This is the response that the postmaster just gave Congress when he doesn't like what he hears.
Not a big fan of politicians, not a big fan of bureaucracy, but there's a concept that was put out by Jocko Willink. He's a ex-Navy SEAL commander, and he wrote a book called Extreme Ownership, and it's been very impactful in my life. But regardless of the situation you're in, you have to take responsibility for what you can take responsibility over. And whether the Postmaster General here is correct or this congressperson is correct, it doesn't matter. You take responsibility, and you've got to make the best out of whatever situation you're in. Now, I get it, that not every situation has a clear path forward or a clear solution. And, not every situation is going to be easy. And that's just life, though. So it's not the type of thing you want to see from people that you have entrusted with certain services and things that benefit all of your society. So it's kind of gross that that was his reaction. Regardless of if he likes the person asking him questions or not, you're being called to Congress. You're probably not going to like all the questions that are asked of you. But taking responsibility is a huge thing that was a tough lesson for me to learn, because I'm naturally a very proud person, and it's just hard. It's hard for anyone to take a responsibility, especially when you feel like you don't have any other options.
Dude, Gen Z programmers are a different breed, man. I mean, look at this PR I have to look at. So we have this save button, right? And for some reason, the save text is looking like this. So I was like, what is this? This dude just imported each letter from this NPM package. Why is there an NPM package for each letter like this? What? And then I was like, okay, checking if something is even and doing whatever, right? Like maybe they wrote this is even function. Nope. Once again, importing it as an NPM package. And what is this? Is even AI? It's using AI to determine if something is even? And then we have these, objects where current is supposed to be a Boolean value. And I was like, why are they typing false value and true value instead of just false and true? Do the NPM packages ever stop? How is there something that does this? And why? Why does this exist? I'm at the point in my career where I'm like, should I just approve this? Because why do I want to review another PR by this person? If I just approve it, it's gone. And does it really harm anyone?
Oh man, okay. So how to explain this simply. So in coding, there's oftentimes libraries that are shared for free. They're open source to use. And this person who coded this, whether this is true or staged or not, it's a funny skit if it's staged. But the person essentially coded things that were much more simple to just type the standard stuff into from the language that they were using, which this is JavaScript here. So they were pulling in something from a package that they could have easily just set to true, on or off, and an is even function that would be so easy to program. It's division, right? So like if you divide anything by 2, if there's a remainder, then it's odd, and if there's no remainder, then it's even. And they were pulling it in from somewhere else. So that's kind of funny. You don't have to go too far. Now I'm talking to a very small group of my viewers, but if you're a programmer out there, maybe think for a second and see if there's a simpler way to go about it, or maybe reconsider your career. I'm not sure.
That intersection over there has 100,000 cars in traffic every single day. But the only issue is my restaurant is located right there. So I drafted up this professionally made contract, and we're going to see if we're going to strike a deal with the local homeless people. mean, if you want to just get along, go leave.
That is awesome. So I've talked before in a couple of videos about how it's tough to know how to feel about the videos that go out where, they're helping homeless people because they get millions of views or whatever. And yes, that generates revenue so that then that person can go out and help the homeless again. But to me too, it's like a little bit exploitative in terms of, they've got this massive YouTube or TikTok following all by, filming interactions with the homeless, where it's more like, why not just go out and, and help them and let that be the thing. So I get both sides of it, but this is completely different. This guy essentially went up to a homeless person and offered them a job to do essentially what they were doing, but giving them a guaranteed income at the end of the day and food. Seems like a pretty good deal. Seems like a way that capitalism solved the problem there. But, I'm probably going to get lambasted in the comments for bringing that up. But I think it's cool. I think it's a great idea. We should do this more often. If there's any other business owners out there that are doing things like this, I think it's awesome because it solves a problem in society and it helps an individual out. Thank you so much for being here and watching this video. If anything I'm talking about, the perspective I'm giving, if any of that resonates with you and it's something that you think you might be interested in, I just ask that you go to resistthealgorithm.com to learn more. Nyched is something very unique. It's the first human interaction platform that has ever been created. And what do I mean by that? Well, we did some unique things with Nyched. First and foremost, we removed some of the major problems that social media has. So there are no gatekeepers and no algorithms there forcing information on you and a data stream that you may or may not want to interact with. I believe that as individuals, we should have autonomy over our information and how we get to it. And online, if there are algorithms and gatekeepers, much of that information is just not getting to us because their own bias is in the system. What that means, though, is that there's a responsibility on the users of Nyched to curate their environment and to be in charge of it. Instead of some program doing that or some employees behind the scene doing it, it's left up to you. And I think that that is a very attractive prospect. We have this technological advancement over the last many years, and we have the ability to put the power into the individual's hands so you can filter and so that you can choose what comes across your feed. And that's what Nyched is all about. It's about you. Ultimately, Nyched is not like other social media companies. It's not relying on advertisers to be the customer and for users to be the product. So I want to rely on you to be my customer and give you the opportunity to choose to be my customer so that you can have a more curated user experience that's 100% in your hands. Thanks for being here. I appreciate you watching the video. Let's watch a few more clips.
Well, these idiots.
Thank you for that love and tolerance, ma'am. But ma'am, there's kids around here. Saying F you when there's kids around?
They've heard me in class.
Really? Do you say F you in the classroom?
You know what? Stop talking.
And you said you're a communication professor?
Yes.
And you just said F
stop
you.
Talking. So, because you are the biggest problem with freedom of speech.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm not opposing your freedom of speech, man. You're opposing my freedom of speech, our freedom of speech. And you're a communications professor. Tell me to F you.
Here?
Because people are in rebellion to God. They need the gospel of Jesus Christ.
No, this is a public institution. Yeah. You have no right to be here.
Ma'am, what you just said, this is a public institution, the public. We have the constitutional right to be here.
No.
Yeah, we do.
You're not a student.
Actually, I'm a student.
You're not a staff. Oh my God.
Yeah, I'm a student. Yeah, I'm learning all the time.
Obviously, you haven't taken my class, and I wish
I wouldn't take your.
ever
Yeah, why would I want to take your class? You're not a good communicator, man. You're not calm. You just told me to F you. You're not a good communicator, man. You should stop teaching communication. You should stop teaching communication, man, because you're not a good communicator. Communicators should be calm and how they dialogue with people, right? And a middle finger from a communications professor. A middle finger from a communications professor. Well, they should fire you. You should teach something else, not communications, ma'am. A communications professor giving the middle finger to someone on campus. You should teach something else, ma'am. There you go. This is the love and tolerance community. We love everyone except Christians.
All right, so regardless of the ideology, right? there's a couple of points being made here, but if you remove yourself from the ideology, whether you agree with preachers, Christian preachers or Muslim preachers or whomever going out into public and talking to people, the point that he's making is communication is about, understanding one side or the other. And this communications professor is trying to shut them down. And if they're on a public university here in America, we have the right to go there and to speak and to share our ideas and those types of things. And I think that's crucial for any healthy environment or healthy society, rather. We need to be able to share our ideas and disagree in a gracious manner so that we're able to live together, because we have a bunch of diverse ideas and ideologies here in America, and one of them is not going to win over the other without one of two things, either force or good communication. I think most people would agree that force is less preferable than the situation where we get to talk to one another and share our ideas. There's plenty of times throughout the week where I talk to people who I call friends where we disagree ideologically about things. And that's not a reason to not be friends. I have plenty of hobbies where, I do certain things with other people who have the same passion I do about that hobby, and we can disagree politically and we can disagree on religion and other ideologies and still enjoy the thing that we're doing, which I would argue is the more important thing. Doing the thing that we're doing is way more important than how each of us chooses to organize our private lives. Now, when we have ideological conversations, we need to not, just dig our heels into the sand, because we know what we believe. Most of us know what we believe about something. Many people are regurgitating things that people told us to believe, but if you are a critical thinker, you know what you believe about the topic. So it shouldn't usually be, in those conversations, the goal usually shouldn't be to convince the other person. The goal should be able to hear them out, give counterpoints, maybe pressure an ideology. I've had my ideology pressured and it's either become stronger. I've left that part of the ideology behind. But the point is, if you remove yourself from the topic of the conversation, all of us should want to desire to have spaces in public where people can share their ideas and their thoughts without the fear of, being jailed or removed or silenced. No way.
That is not moving.
Yeah, no way.
There's no way. There is no way. How heavy are these things? Come on, that's got to be like half a ton?
Yeah.
He is not flipping that.
Wow.
That's insane. That is insane. I'm so impressed.
Jeez, right? Like, this is what I talk about. Doing the right thing. Is there an SOP? We just talked about it in an earlier video. Is there an SOP for getting bales of hay out? He could have sat there and waited. I'm sure that would have been a fine option as well. But he said to himself, I can flip this out of my way myself and be about my day, which is probably more important for the area he lives in, that he's back out on the streets doing things that cops should be doing, helping society. So yeah, props to this cop. He did the right thing. He said to himself, I can take care of this myself. Every guy's been there in a situation like that. My wife's been there too, but a lot of times she ends up finding out that she was wrong. But this is great. Awesome.
The 600 series had rubber skin. We spotted them easy. But these are new. They look human. Sweat, bad breath, everything. Man. Very hard to spot.
I mean, it is a trope about Mr. Zuckerberg, but he has had a glow up in recent years. I'm not saying I'm the best looking guy out there in the world, but he's doing something right. A little longer hair, a little longer beard. I don't know if those are contacts or just the lighting, but that's so funny. A clip from the Terminator. They are much harder to spot now. Be vigilant, because they might be all around you.
I saw this little post that went viral the other day of a waiter that had a tip that said, do better. And he said, normally, I could, take this and be like really offended or say these people sucked, but he decided to take it to heart. The next day, he showed up to work and was like, I'm just going to try and be the best. He's like, I'm going to try and remember everyone's names. I'm going to try and smile, be charismatic. He's like, and the craziest thing happened. All of a sudden, people were telling me I was so nice, and they started giving me bigger tips, and they started talking to me about other opportunities. And the thing is that he was still doing the same job, but the way he approached it was different. Did he become passionate about his work, or did he just decide to see the larger picture, that the work we do works on us more than we work on it?
Yeah, so we get to choose how we respond to situations. We get to decide if we're going to take responsibility for our lives and for the situation that we're in, or if we don't, if we decide that, we're just going to let life happen to us. I've been there before. So many people are there where they just let life happen to them. Same thing every day, day in, day out, week in, week out. But I've also had the opportunity to rise to the occasion, to rise to the expectations that were put on me. And I could have chosen not to do that. I could have said, you know what? I'm not good enough. I can't do it. I can't figure it out. I think we can all relate to that inner monologue that happens sometimes. And sure, this guy could have gotten ticked off that a customer was quote unquote rude to him, but you can't change other people's perceptions. You can't do it. If someone decided that they had a bad experience there, you're not going to change it by talking to them. You're not going to change it by being upset about it and not changing anything. So this is an awesome situation where, this person, maybe you are fortunate to have an opportunity like this where you did rise to the occasion and you said, you know what, whether this person's wrong or not, or whether I'm right or wrong about this situation, I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to do it excellently, and I'm going to get better. Maybe you haven't. If you haven't, I would encourage you to think about a situation that maybe you're facing right now, or maybe you've been in recently, or look for the opportunity coming up on the horizon so that you can. If we're all trying to be better, the world and society is going to be better as a result. Yeah, I didn't really design it this way, but the things I've reacted to this time around have kind of centered around taking ownership over the situation that you're in and, making a decision to do the best thing for yourself at that time. And we're not always going to be right, and we're not always going to be perfect and make the right decision. But a lot of life is about whether or not we're able to be resilient. And if we make the wrong decision, even if we think it was the right one, how do we pivot? How do we move? How do we change what we were doing so that we can continue to be better and move forward? I hope that you get the opportunity to do this. I hope that if you are in a situation right now where you just think things are going to continue to get worse, that you take a moment, you pause, maybe take a lot of moments, maybe do some soul searching and think, how can I make the situation better? If you're sitting there thinking things are only ever going to get worse, you do believe that life happens to you. You do believe that you don't have control over it. And I'm here to tell you that's 100% not true. I've changed my career multiple times throughout my life. I'm in a situation where I'm fortunate enough to sit here and be able to do things like this and to create something for the world to be better. And you don't have to create something for the whole world to be better. But if you create something for your world to be better, and all of us did that, the world would be better as a result. Thank you so much for being here and watching this video. If you have anything to say, put it down in the comments below. If you're interested in Nyched, go to resistthealgorithm.com and, do all the things that you're supposed to do. For now, I'm Ryan. Nyched is the world's first human interaction platform, and I'm out. Thanks for being here.